How do you know when someone you love is quietly slipping away? Long before anyone says the words out loud. Not with sirens, not with a dramatic moment, but with soft, almost invisible changes. A belt that fits too loose, a plate that's never quite finished, a nap that turns into most of the afternoon. These moments feel small until they don't. Because for many seniors, death doesn't arrive all at once. It whispers first. It signals in subtle ways, not to scare us, but to prepare us. The problem is, most people miss it, not because they don't care, but because they think it's just aging. But what if you knew how to read the quiet language of the body in its final year? What if you could spot the signs before it's too late? Not to fight death, but to bring more love, more presence, and more peace in the time that's left. In this video, we'll talk about 5 changes that often appear in the final 12 months of life. Some will surprise you. Others may already be happening right in front of you. But each one is a message, and by the end of this, you'll know how to listen, with both your heart and your eyes. Let's start with the first, and often most overlooked sign: unexplained weight loss. Now, we're not talking about dieting, or a few pounds here and there. We're talking about noticeable, steady weight loss that seems to happen without effort, especially in someone who isn't trying to lose weight at all. Clothes begin to hang, bones start to show. Their favorite meals go half-touched. And while families often brush it off, oh, their appetite's just smaller, or that's just what happens when you get older. The truth is, this is not normal. It's one of the most common early signs that the body is beginning to wind down. Here's why. As the body ages, digestion naturally slows. But in the final stretch of life, something deeper happens. The body begins absorbing fewer nutrients. Muscles shrink, protein isn't processed properly, and with less muscle comes less strength, less balance, less protection against falls and infections. Even if the person is eating, their body might not be using the food well anymore, and often they're eating much less to begin with. Why? Because hunger fades. The brain stops sending strong appetite signals. Food no longer tastes like it used to. The sense of smell dulls. Chewing gets tiring. Swallowing becomes harder. And soon, eating feels more like a chore than a pleasure. But there's more. Hidden conditions, like slow-growing cancers, chronic heart or kidney disease, even depression, can also cause weight loss well before anyone realizes something serious is going on. And here's the difficult part. Even when families try their best, making favorite dishes, buying protein shakes, encouraging more meals, the weight continues to drop. That's when you know this isn't just about food. It's the body gently shifting gears, conserving energy, preparing for something deeper. Now, that doesn't mean you stop caring. Quite the opposite. This is when comfort becomes the priority. Instead of focusing on calorie counts or pushing big meals, focus on what's easy, what's enjoyable, and what brings warmth to their day. A small bowl of oatmeal with cinnamon, a spoonful of yogurt with honey, a soft slice of toast, a favorite fruit cut into tiny pieces. Even a warm mug of broth or herbal tea can mean more than you think. And above all, hydration matters. Even mild dehydration makes everything worse. Dizziness, weakness, confusion, and heart strain. Offering sips of water with a smile can go a long way. Because at this stage, food isn't just nutrition. It's comfort, connection, dignity. If you've noticed your loved ones steadily losing weight, especially if they're also slowing down, skipping meals, or showing less interest in food, it's time to gently shift the focus. Not toward fixing, but toward feeling. How can we bring more ease into each day? More moments of joy around a meal, no matter how small. More presence, even in the quiet. Because when the body begins its final journey, what matters most isn't what we put on the plate. It's the love and peace we put around it. And that begins with awareness. Not denial, not panic, but soft, honest awareness. So if you're seeing these changes, don't wait until it's too late to make them count. This is your moment to be there, to adjust, to show up with compassion instead of confusion, and to let your loved one know, in 1,000 unspoken ways, I see you, I love you, and I'm here. Stay with me, because in the next section we'll talk about a second sign that's just as important, a kind of tiredness that doesn't go away, a quiet exhaustion that speaks louder than words. And if this video is resonating with you already, take a second to tap the like button and subscribe to Health 360 Pro. It helps this message reach others who may need it just as much as you do. You're not alone, and neither are they. Ready for the next sign? Let's keep going. There's a kind of tiredness that doesn't lift after a nap. Not the kind that comes from a long walk or a poor night's sleep, but the kind that settles deep into the bones. The kind where getting out of bed feels like climbing a mountain, where holding a conversation feels like too much, where everything just feels heavier than it used to. And this is the second sign many people overlook in their aging loved ones, a quiet, persistent exhaustion that doesn't go away with rest. At first, it may look like laziness, or maybe just a slower pace, but listen closely. This is not ordinary aging. This is the body choosing rest over motion, because it's starting to conserve its remaining energy. You see, as the body nears its final chapter, it begins to prioritize what matters most for survival. The heart doesn't pump quite as forcefully. Circulation slows. Muscles don't get as much oxygen. And the energy that once powered walks, conversations, and housework starts getting rerouted to essential functions, like breathing, digesting, and keeping the brain alert. And what we see from the outside is a person who's always tired, a person who sleeps longer, who naps more, who cancels outings, who starts saying, maybe tomorrow, more than they used to. But deep down, it's not about preference, it's about preservation. Even small tasks, brushing hair, getting dressed, pouring a glass of water, can feel monumental. Some days, just shifting positions in bed takes everything they've got. And here's what makes it even more heartbreaking. Many older adults don't say anything. They don't want to burden anyone. They don't want to admit they're fading. They just quietly withdraw. They stop reaching out. They stop asking for help. They smile less. They talk less. Not because they don't want connection, but because they don't have the energy to reach for it anymore. And this is where the emotional toll begins. A man who once took pride in his independence starts to feel embarrassed he needs help standing up. A woman who once baked for the whole family now watches from the couch, too weak to stir the batter. They may not say it, but inside, many feel like they're slowly becoming a shadow of who they were. And that silent grief can be harder to carry than the tiredness itself. Families often struggle here. Watching someone you love go from vibrant to distant can feel like watching them disappear, piece by piece. And it's tempting to say, "Come on, just try," or "You'll feel better if you move around." But the truth is, this is not something they can push through. This is the body dimming the lights, gently, quietly. So what can you do? You honor the pace. You stop measuring the day by what gets done. You start measuring it by presence, by comfort, by connection. Instead of pressuring them to get up, sit with them. Hold their hand. Ask questions with no expectations. Watch a quiet show together. Listen to a favorite song. Bring stillness instead of stimulation. You create an environment where they feel safe, not for what they do, but simply for who they are. You might say, "But I want to keep them active. Won't that help?" Sometimes, yes. But at this stage, forcing activity can feel like punishment. What helps more is gentle companionship, small movements that feel good, warm drinks, peaceful routines, and above all, your understanding. Even something as simple as walking to the bathroom might feel like a marathon to them. That's not weakness, that's reality. A reality their body didn't choose. It just slowly arrived there. So if your loved one is showing signs of deep, unrelenting fatigue, not just a lazy day, but a fundamental lack of energy, pay attention. That's not just tiredness. That's a message that it's time to shift your expectations, to soften your tone, to be there, not to fix, but to comfort. Because when the body begins its quiet decline, what heals more than medicine is patience. What lifts more than encouragement is understanding. And what stays longer than energy is love. And I'll say this again. They may not be able to do much anymore, but that doesn't mean they've disappeared. There's still so much life in their presence, even if the energy is fading. So sit beside them, match their pace, and make peace the goal, not productivity. Because when you do that, you give them the greatest gift, the freedom to rest without guilt, and the comfort of knowing they're still deeply valued, not for what they can do, but simply for who they are. If this part of the video resonated with you, let me know by typing number 2 in the comments below. I'd love to hear your experience. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to Health 360 Pro. It helps us keep creating these life-changing conversations for families like yours. Now let's keep going. In the next part, we'll talk about a third sign, one that's often misunderstood and misdiagnosed. A sudden shift in how your loved one thinks, remembers, and emotionally connects with the world around them. And it's often the sign that hurts the most to witness. Stay with me. It's important. There's something deeply unsettling about watching someone you love fade mentally, not physically, not at first, but mentally, in how they speak, how they connect, how they remember. One day you're sharing stories over coffee. The next, they forget where the coffee mugs are kept. You remind them of a name they've known for decades, and they look at you like a stranger just walked into the room. This is the third sign we need to talk about. A sudden shift in cognition, memory, and emotional engagement. Because sometimes the hardest goodbye begins before the end. You see, as the body starts winding down, the brain feels it too. It's not just a physical slowdown, it's neurological. The brain, like any organ, needs a healthy supply of oxygen and nutrients to function well. But as circulation weakens and oxygen delivery drops, those brain cells start struggling. And what that looks like on the outside is confusion. You'll see it in forgotten appointments, repeated questions, misplaced objects, moments of staring into space, unsure of what's happening or where they are. At first, it feels like just a senior moment, harmless, normal. But over time, those moments stack up until they're no longer just moments. They're patterns. You might notice your loved one struggles to follow conversations they used to lead. They forget names, mix up dates, lose track of time completely. Even more painful, they start to withdraw emotionally. Not because they don't love you, but because connection becomes exhausting. Simple conversations feel overwhelming. Crowded rooms feel like noise. Visitors they once looked forward to now feel like pressure. They retreat. Not because they don't care, but because their brain can't keep up. And what's worse is that many families mistake this withdrawal for moodiness. They think, she's just being distant, or he doesn't want to talk anymore. But the truth? They can't connect the way they used to. And deep down, many of them know it, and it scares them. Some try to mask it with jokes, others grow quiet, some get irritable or easily frustrated, not because they're angry, but because they're disoriented, embarrassed, grieving what they're starting to lose. And yes, some may even have moments of clarity. One day they seem back to normal. The next they can't remember what they said an hour ago. That's the heartbreaking roller coaster of cognitive decline in the final year of life. It's not a straight line, it's not predictable, it comes in waves, and each wave can feel like a little loss. But here's the hope, and the reason this conversation matters. You don't need them to be the same to love them fully. They may forget your name, but still remember your voice. They may not know the date, but they can feel your hand in theirs. Even if their mind is slipping, your presence still matters, more than ever. This is not the time for correcting them. It's not the time for testing memory or pushing them to try harder. This is the time for meeting them where they are. If they forget something, let it go. If they say something that doesn't make sense, smile and follow their rhythm. If they drift into silence, sit with them there. That silence might be more meaningful than words ever were, because love doesn't need full sentences. It just needs patience. You might be wondering, but what if they don't even recognize me anymore? Even then, they feel you. They may not be able to place your name, but the warmth of your voice, the kindness in your tone, the familiarity of your presence, that lands, that stays. And sometimes, in those quiet moments, you'll see it. The flicker of recognition, the soft squeeze of a hand, the gentle tear they can't explain. That's real. So if your loved one is showing signs of forgetfulness, confusion, or pulling away emotionally, don't panic. And please don't take it personally. It's not rejection. It's the brain whispering that it's tired too. What they need now isn't correction. It's comfort, familiar routines, a calm environment, soft voices, gentle music, simple moments of peace, and most of all, reassurance. Even if they forget what you said, they will never forget how you made them feel. So let that be your gift in this chapter. Let go of needing them to be sharp or themselves. Just be with them, truly with them, exactly as they are. And in doing so, you turn the scariest moments into sacred ones. If this part of the journey speaks to you, if you've seen this in someone you love, leave a comment below with number 3. It lets us know you're here walking this path and not alone. And if you haven't yet subscribed to Health 360 Pro, I encourage you to do it now, because these conversations matter, and we're here to walk through them together. In the next part, we'll explore the 4th quiet warning, one that shows up in the body more than the mind. A pattern of infections, slow healing, and a body that's struggling to fight back. It's one of the clearest physical signs that time is shifting, and you won't want to miss it. There's something about the human body, even in its final season, that never stops trying to protect itself. But eventually, even our greatest defenses begin to wear thin. This next sign is often missed until it becomes frequent, stubborn, and deeply concerning. And that's the rise in infections and the body's struggle to heal. It might start small, a scratch that doesn't close up, a bruise that lingers for weeks, a tiny sore near the ankle that never quite fades, or a common cold that turns into a week of coughing, fever, and no appetite. And what you're seeing is the immune system slowly stepping back, not quitting, but no longer fighting like it used to. Because in the final year of life, the body begins choosing peace over resistance. Think about it. For decades, your loved one's body has fought everything. Viruses, bacteria, injuries, stress. The immune system has been a quiet warrior, but now, that system is tired. The white blood cells that once jumped into action are slower. The healing process that once repaired skin, tissue, and bone is delayed. The skin becomes more fragile, the defenses are thinner, and what once was a harmless bump or bug bite can now turn into a lingering wound, or worse, an infection that keeps coming back. You may see more frequent cases of pneumonia, more urinary tract infections, more rashes, mouth sores, or gum infections, and each time the recovery gets a little longer, a little harder. Sometimes, even antibiotics don't work the way they used to. It's not that the medicine is bad, it's that the body isn't responding the same way. And this is hard for families, because we're taught to fight. A fever, we get meds. A cough, we call the doctor. A wound, we clean, bandage, and wait. But what happens when nothing seems to help? What happens when you do everything right, and they still stay weak, still get sick again, still don't bounce back? That's when the question quietly shifts from, how do we fix this, to how do we support them truly? Because at some point in the final year, the goal is no longer cure. The goal becomes comfort. That's not giving up. That's giving your loved one peace. It means focusing on hydration, skin care, warmth, sleep, emotional support, clean, cozy surroundings. It means fewer trips to the ER and more moments holding their hand. It means understanding that not all wounds need bandages, some just need love. And here's something most people don't realize. Infections near the end of life often look different. It's not always a high fever. It's not always a loud cough. Sometimes it's just more confusion, or more sleepiness, or a sudden loss of appetite, or a blankness in their eyes, a moment where they seem distant. You see, when the body is struggling to fight, it doesn't always raise the alarm. It whispers. And if we don't know how to listen, we miss it. So if your loved one is suddenly getting sick more often, or if they stay sick longer, heal slower, or seem weaker after every illness, it's time to pause, not to panic, but to pivot. Ask yourself, are we chasing treatments that cause more stress than relief? Are we prioritizing medical intervention over emotional comfort? Or is it time to create a new kind of care, one rooted in presence, not pressure? And don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean ignoring symptoms. It means seeing the whole person, not just the illness. It means asking what they want, what brings them peace, what kind of days they want to wake up to. Because sometimes peace means fewer pills and more quiet mornings. Sometimes healing means not another prescription, but soft blankets, warm tea, and knowing someone is beside you without needing anything from you. So if your loved one is going through this, if their body is telling you it's tired, meet that with grace. They don't need you to be their nurse. They need you to be their comfort. And when you become that safe place, when your presence brings more relief than any pill ever could, you're doing more than you know. If this part touched you, if you've seen it in your parent, grandparent, partner, or friend, let us know by commenting number 4 below. And if these conversations are helping you feel more prepared, more informed, and less alone, subscribe to Health 360 Pro. That one click helps us keep making content that matters. We're not here to talk about death. We're here to talk about how to live through it with dignity, softness, and love. And in the next section, we'll explore the final sign, perhaps the most visible of all, when the breath changes, when circulation slows, and when the body itself starts speaking the quiet truth that time is running short. Stay close. It's tender, but it matters more than you know. There's a moment in every caregiver's journey where the room grows still, not from silence, but from awareness. You hear their breathing, you notice their hands, and something inside you knows. The body is beginning to let go. This final sign is the most visible, the most profound, and often the most misunderstood. It shows up in the breath, in the color of the skin, in the way their chest rises, then pauses, then rises again. This is the body's final language. And if you listen closely, it's not a cry for help. It's a signal of surrender. In the last stretch of life, breathing patterns change. You might hear slow, shallow breaths, followed by long pauses. Sometimes they breathe rapidly for a moment, then stop again. There's a rhythm to it, but not the rhythm we're used to. Some call it Cheney-Stokes respiration, a pattern of deep, rapid breaths followed by silence. It can sound alarming if you've never heard it before, but it's not pain. It's not panic. It's just the body conserving energy, like a candle flickering before it fades. And it's not just the breath that shifts. You may notice their skin grow cooler, especially the hands, feet, ears, or nose. Circulation begins to slow. Blood is being redirected inward toward the vital organs. You might see a bluish tint on their lips or fingertips, or mottled patches on their skin, pale, purple, or gray. It's not something to fear. It's simply the heart saying, "I've done my job." Even their posture may change. They might prefer to sit up with pillows instead of lying flat, because breathing becomes easier that way. They may start sleeping more, speaking less, drifting in and out of awareness. Sometimes their voice grows faint. Other times, they stop talking altogether. But here's the sacred truth most people don't realize. Even when the voice is gone, presence still matters. Even if they can't speak back, they can hear you. Even if their eyes are closed, they can feel your hand. And even if they seem distant, your love still reaches them. This stage can be frightening if you don't know what it means. But when you understand that these are natural transitions, not emergencies, you stop fighting. You start being. You stop rushing to fix and start learning how to hold space. You might offer water through a straw, dab a cool cloth on their forehead, let soft music fill the room, light, comfort, familiar voices. This is the time for reading their favorite passage, telling their favorite story, or simply whispering, "I'm here. I love you. You're safe." Because at this stage, comfort matters more than cure. Peace matters more than pulse. And what they need most is not to feel alone. Many families struggle with this. They wonder, should we call the doctor? Should we get more treatment? Should we do something? But sometimes the greatest act of care is choosing stillness over urgency, choosing to honor the body's wisdom, not override it. Because this isn't failure, this is completion. And when you recognize the signs, the slow breath, the cool skin, the quiet drifting, you're not just preparing for their death, you're preparing for something deeper, to walk with them across the bridge, to make their last days gentle, to give them the gift of peace, with no tubes, no alarms, no panic, just presence, just love. That's what dignity looks like. And maybe that's the greatest medicine of all. So if your loved one is showing these signs, if their breathing has changed, if their body is growing still, this is your moment to lean in, to sit close, to breathe with them, to say what you need to say, or simply to just be there. Because there's power in presence, and there's grace in goodbye. You don't have to be a nurse. You don't have to have the perfect words. You just have to be someone who stayed, someone who didn't turn away from the final chapter, someone who helped them feel loved all the way to the end. If this part of the journey has touched you, if you've been here or you're here now, comment number 5 below. And if you've found this video meaningful, I invite you to subscribe to Health 360 Pro, because we believe these conversations are not just about aging, but about honoring life, all the way through. Let's recap, just once, the signs we've explored: significant weight loss, extreme fatigue, cognitive decline and emotional withdrawal, frequent infections and slow healing. And now, major changes in breathing and circulation. These signs don't always come in order, and they don't always mean the end is near right away. But when they begin to appear, they're not just symptoms. They're signals. They're the body's way of whispering, "I'm getting ready to rest." And when we stop ignoring those whispers, when we meet them with knowledge, tenderness, and courage, we stop fearing death, and we start transforming it into a sacred part of life. So if you're walking this path, you are not alone. And if you've found comfort in this journey, share it with someone who needs it, because no one should have to go through this in the dark. Thank you for being here with us. This is Health 360 Pro, and we're here for you in every season.